Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Earthward Devlog, a 2D RPG roguelike that's inspired by pretty much every single pixel art game that I've ever played. A really important part of this game is the world generation, and so I've been trying to make it so that it's really easy for me to add new biomes and new worlds to the game. Right now I have it set up so you can really easily just copy and paste one of the existing JSON files that's in the worlds folder, which means that it's super easy to add an entirely new environment to the game if you wanted to. Of course, you do have to do a little bit of scripting, things like making the new tile or making the new tree that you want to be like the main sort of resource for that world. Now that I've got that whole backend done, I can actually start developing and designing the worlds. So let me take you on a little tour of the mushroom world so far. The first thing that we had to do was create and draw the tile set for that, and then we made just a couple of cool little nature tiles and mushrooms that we could just randomly place on some of the blocks to make it actually feel like you're in a mushroom biome and not just a recolored forest tile set texture. I decided to go with some very classic complementary colors like a blue and sort of red orange for the mushrooms with like a yellow white sort of spots that are on top of the mushrooms and things like that. This meant I also had to redraw quite a lot of assets because beforehand they were just using some kind of boring looking textures that didn't really make sense. It was just a single red color and then a darker and then a brighter red color. Didn't actually look very much like a mushroom. And if you managed to catch the stream that we did last week, we drew this giant mushroom hammer, which is sort of like the floating rune fragment rocks that are in the forest area. And of course, along with creating a new world means we also have to add some new items as well. So what I did was I added just normal mushroom items that you can find growing from the ground. You have your red mushrooms, you have your blue mushrooms. And once you gather enough of these, you can actually cook these into specific potions. So if you go to the cauldron or the alchemist, which is in the town area, then you can use 4 of these red mushrooms to then craft healing potions. Or if you want, you can craft other things with them as well, but you might have to figure those out for yourself. I don't want to tell you what all the crafting recipes are. The mushroom is actually a very old item. I think I did this for a competition several months ago, but I reskinned that as well. The original design, I don't remember exactly who it is off the top of my head, but it's pretty cool. It acts as sort of a weapon, but also an axe at the same time. I also thought it'd be interesting if you could increase your maximum health, so I decided to add a giant red mushroom that is much more rare and really only drops from specific enemies or this one rare resource, which is a giant rare mushroom. And if you eat that, you'll get +3 maximum health, which doesn't really seem like a lot, and it's true that if you only ever get one of them, it's not really that much, but over time it does actually end up adding up, and as you encounter more difficult enemies, it starts to become really, really helpful, so that way you don't get 2-shot or 1-shot by something that's just really strong. One of the really cool things about this area is the music. So a while back I was looking into creating custom virtual instruments, which basically just means creating a sample that I can play on my keyboard with a whole bunch of controls for things like release and reverb and all of that very nice stuff. And so what I ended up doing was I took one of my old violins and I ended up sampling just me plucking that string, and I did a little bit of audio engineering, you could say, to make it feel more like it was some magical thing, like you're bowing almost like a celeste or something like that. And I think it sounds pretty neat. It's also very unique, I feel like, compared to the rest of the places, but that whole process was just a bunch of fun, and maybe I'll make a video on that at some other point. I then went about drawing the trees for the place. So the mushroom trees don't really give you as much resources as the other ones, but they can drop mushrooms, which means it's kind of worth mining them if you need to get some more potions and stuff like that. But other than that, you kind of want to spend most of your time chopping trees in the earlier stages of the game, where there's much more wood and logs that you can get, because you will actually end up needing these later on down the line, and they'll be a pretty valuable resource that becomes more and more finite as time goes on. There's also this very neat looking mushroom NPC guy, and you can actually play as him as an unlockable skin character. But otherwise, that's pretty much it for the mushroom themed area. One other interesting thing I was doing this week was adding controller support. So I now have it actually possible to play the game and select buttons and everything and jump around and interact with your inventory and attack and use the little D-pad. I don't actually remember what the names for these things are. You can tell I don't really use controllers very much. You can aim and you can attack with everything, and it all works well. I think the next big thing for me to tackle is going to be Steam multiplayer. I already set up the project on Steam, so I have things like achievements already there, and it's pretty easy for me to add a bunch of those. So I'm thinking that I just need to now set up like a way for me to send data or buffers to other clients through Steam by just connecting people through Steam lobbies. I'm not entirely sure how to do that yet, but I'll do a lot of research and I'll see if it's something that I can add, because I think that would be just a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next devlog.